Welcome to the Unique Dog Experience. Today's segment is the science of canine behavior. To best illustrate the science of canine behavior, we're going to share a podcast called Dog Dish with Deborah, featuring premier dog trainer Deborah Rosen of Good Citizen Dog. To learn more about Deborah and her positive, reward-based training, visit goodcitizendog.com. That's goodcitizendog.com. Now, let's turn to the podcast Dog Dish with Deborah.
I'm Deborah Rosen. For the past 15 years, as founder and owner of Good Citizen Dog, I've been helping people by educating them about the science of canine behavior. What I'm going to do is help you create peaceful living with your dog.
Hi, I'm Dina, and I'm producing Dog Dish with Deborah. I'm here to help Deborah give you everything you need to have for peaceful living with your dog. Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Dina.
How's it going?
It's great. It's great.
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you today because this is the holiday season, and these are very special times.
They are.
So I thought maybe this podcast, we could help folks out with what to do with your dogs during the holidays. So this podcast is Home for the Holidays with Hank.
Okay, well, let's just get right into it, shall we?
I love it.
I think the important thing is, in fact, I just ran into some of our clients at a restaurant that they own, and they were in a huddle talking about how there aren't any kids coming for the holidays other than their adult kids. And those kids don't have their own kids. Guess what they have?
They have dogs.
They have dogs.
Yay.
Yeah. And they were talking about, is it an assumption that it's okay to bring the dogs? And what they told me was that they've got 5 kids, and between those 5 kids, there are 11 dogs.
Get out.
Yeah, and they have this special little family house that's all of maybe 1,200 square feet that people all come to, and they have a great time. But is there room for 11 dogs?
I don't know. Do they have a big yard?
They live in their holiday home, or I guess they call it a country home, is out in the boonies, but there's no fencing.
Oh, yeah, that could be a difficult situation.
So you can't just throw the dogs outside and say, hey, go fend for yourself, hang out, play, come back when you're good and ready and tired. It just can't do it.
No, unless you've got a turkey out there.
Yeah. Right. What? For them to chase?
Yeah.
A live one. Yeah, that's right. So to me, it's always important to ask first if you can bring the dog and say, look, if it's not okay, just tell me and we'll find a different arrangement. Like a dog daycare, open for the holidays, so people are dropping their dogs off for daycare on a special holiday where they can't bring a pet because there are too many people or there are too many things that dog can get into trouble with.
And not only that, Dee, but also the fact that it is a trying mental situation for the dog to have this entire new household with all this new energy. So maybe being in a daycare or being with other dogs in a more comfortable situation that they're used to is also a better idea for them during the day.
So to me, first ask. Don't assume it's okay to bring the dog.
Perfect.
Second, if you're bringing the dog, if you've gotten permission, make sure that dog has had a lot of exercise and isn't wanting for attention. Bring the dog a bone to chew on.
Give
that dog a bone.
Yeah, nice raw one. We don't want any cooked bones, especially off the meal, especially no turkey bones, folks, please. They can shard. So we want, you could do a raw turkey neck before you cook the turkey, which is absolutely wonderful.
Raw and maybe frozen.
Yes.
I like freezing things, don't you?
I do.
Because then it's an even better chew for them. They have to work harder. It's frozen, like a frozen marrow bone.
Exactly.
Okay, so you want to bring things to occupy your dog, a puzzle toy, a stuffed Kong, something like that.
So you have a dog that's going to come over to somebody's house. What's the protocol for behavior, Deborah?
I'm glad you asked that because it's very specific and it's very important. Dogs must be trained if you want to bring it to another home that's not your own. The worst possible holiday situation, Dina, is to have a dog come into a nice house and have a potty accident.
That is definitely not a pleasant holiday introduction.
No. See, I'm a dog trainer, and I have dear friends who come over and then make excuses for why their dog is having accidents in my house. I know it's not because there's the odor of urine around. It's because those dogs have not generalized their potty training from one house to another, especially the male dogs. I'm not being discriminatory here, but male dogs have a tendency to lift that leg and put their scent on things. And then there's no worse faux pas than to have a dog come in and pee on your friend's nice things.
That's very true. I have my dad has a dog named Boomer, and Boomer was a street dog. He's a little Shih Tzu, and while he's trained in,
You know what I call Shih Tzus.
well, we'll leave that for everyone's imagination. He's actually a really sweet little dog, and he's great. And but what he, like you say, he didn't generalize. So when he came over actually to your house, he decided that he wanted to posture his position, and he marked
Posture
everything.
his position?
He postured his position
Okay.
and peed.
That's a nice way of saying he pissed on something of mine.
Yeah.
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 Those are the dogs you want to put on a leash. You want to keep them attached to you so that you can quickly interrupt that behavior and put a lid on it, so to speak. Or in addition, you may also want to put a diaper on that dog, even though it might be a little bit embarrassing for you. They don't care, but do it. I mean, anything that can
Cover
prevent
it up with some pants. Put some little doggy pants on.
yeah,
them, put a
anything
little
that's
diaper in
going
there.
to prevent that dog from doing that nasty deed.
What are some other behavior requirements for bringing dogs to holiday events?
Oh, for me, a big one, Dina, is no begging.
Oh, yes. That's a very inherent behavior in all animals and creatures out there, especially our dogs, right?
Especially after we reinforce it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a chef, and I never allow dogs into my kitchen for that reason, because it's unsanitary to have dog hair getting mixed up with your food.
That's true.
And
That's so
you don't
true.
want to trip over them and drop the turkey on the floor because they were underfoot.
That's right. That's totally right. You know, begging dogs to me are so incredibly annoying, especially in a big group with people you don't know that well. And believe it or not everyone loves dogs the way you and I do.
I don't believe you.
It's true.
No, I cannot.
All right.
imagine.
Well, that aside, it can ruin a holiday to be harassed by a dog that is simply not trained to stay away from the dinner table.
You know, and not only that, there's so much you can do about it that are very subtle tips. So if you wouldn't mind, why don't you share with everybody what those are so that they can apply them in their new situation
Sure.
that they may not have had training in yet?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is the time to maybe put the dog in the car if your dog does well on his or her own. It may be too cold to do that, but maybe for a little while you put a crate in the car with some blankets and they cuddle up there just to get them out from underfoot and from under the table and next to the table. I'm a big believer in that. Or better yet, bring the crate inside the house, put them in there. Hopefully they're crate trained and they're not going to be crying and whining the whole time. Maybe this is a time to start crate training the dog.
Well, and that's something to actually speak to quite specifically and just quickly is getting ready for these events to come. We know the holidays come. We know we have to prepare. This is actually a really nice but important addition to preparation that you may want to impart how many weeks prior to, or what would you recommend for them to do?
Well, there's only a couple weeks left.
Well, I
yeah,
know, for next year, let's
for
say.
next year.
Yeah.
For next year. So you want to get the dog well crate trained so they're comfortable in there. So you're tossing the treats in every time you pass the crate. The dog goes in, makes a quick association. The crate's a good thing. I'm going to go in there and hang out. You give them a bone in the crate and let them chew on the bone in the crate.
And leave the door open, let's say, for a little while, or close it, or how would you?
Yeah,
help
well,
them?
if you have a dog that's not comfortable in a crate with the door closed, then obviously you got to let them be in there with the door open for a while. But
Okay.
at some point, you got to close the door.
Okay.
So you get the dog tired enough. At the end of a day, it's had a full day of daycare or it's had a great deal of exercise and play. You put them in there with a frozen marrow bone, close the door, say goodnight, turn the lights off, and they're in the crate. At a certain point, you just got to take the plunge. Another thing that you want to do in preparation for the holidays is make sure that you don't leave your holiday presents lying around with a dog that's either visiting or even your own dog if you know that dog is not trained to leave it.
Ooh, yes. Leave it is a
Okay.
very important one.
Oh, it's in the big glossary of dog training terminology. And a dog with a good leave it is a dog that's not going to touch things that don't belong to him or her.
It's very, very true about that. I'm actually amazed at how much the leave it is a transferable skill when you put it in all the different arenas that you could use it for keeping their head out of the garbage, not eating something off the ground on a walk, not eating tinsel or any kind of
Sure.
those holiday items
Yeah,
that could
that's
be
right.
problematic for them to digest, like ornaments.
Right. And actually, a dog with a good leave it is going to leave your coffee table alone when it's piled high with holiday treats. Mm-hmm. You do not want, and it's for the dog's safety as much as anything else. Certainly we don't want all our good food going in Hank's mouth.
Hank does, but you don't. But you also don't want Hank to get the chocolate. You don't want Hank
Right.
to get any raisins that are out or too many nuts that might be out, the dry
Or
roasted
bread.
nuts or bread.
If a dog's going to eat a lot of bread, all that yeast is going to blow up in its tummy because dogs shouldn't be eating that much yeast, if at all. So these are the things that a good leave it. And that's how you want to to say it too. You want to take it down a tone or 2 or 10. Folks, if you're interested in this, we have a podcast up that's all about how to stop talking and start communicating. And that talks about tone and inflection and body language, facial expressions, and all the good ways to communicate effectively with dogs. And the way we say leave it is, we're going to do this together. Right, Dina?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Leave it.
On that note, we hope you guys have the most wonderful holiday this year and have a safe, and enjoyable time with your pet dogs.
These are really fantastic tips, Deborah. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
For 15 years, Good Citizen Dog has been the premier destination for dog training. Good Citizen uses the most modern, positive, reward-based training techniques. Good Citizen Dog is creating peaceful living with your dog. For more information about services, go to goodcitizendog.com. That's citizen with a Z. Or call 855-936-3649. That's 855-936-3649.
Thank you for tuning in to the Unique Dog Experience. For all things Unique Dogs, visit uniquedogs.com. That's UNEEKDOGS.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our podcast is available on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud.